In this video, I will teach you the way that management consultants work with change management in organizations so that you can use it when dealing with change at work or generally in life. My name is Emelie and I'm a management consultant. Welcome to my channel where I collect and spread knowledge and information for people who want to live a happier life and also crush at work at the same time. Change is what brings us forward in life and makes us develop as a person. Getting a new job, moving cities, falling in love, going to a new course and so on is bringing us new opportunities to learn and grow. But change is not always easy and not always for the better either. Humans have a need for stability and routines, and we're comfortable with the things we know well. Historically, not having any change has meant that your surroundings are safe to be in. Because of that, a lot of people find change hard, especially if that change is brought upon you by someone else. But there are ways to tackle this that can make things a bit easier. There's a whole subject within organizational development that business professionals use that is called change management, which is basically about helping people moving forward with change in the workplace. And this could go from small changes, like changing the IT system you do your daily work in, to really large changes like people being laid off. By learning about the psychology behind your reactions to change, you can be one step ahead and basically lead yourself through the change using these methods that the business professionals use when working with change management. And by doing that, you can both be more prepared for what is coming and be able to turn the situation around so that it has less negative impact on you. Before we dive into this, there's one thing that I would like to clarify, and that is that there exists two different types of change. So the first one is change that you initiate yourself. Like for example, wanting to get a new job because you feel like you want to develop in another area. And then there's the second type of change, which is change that is brought upon you by someone else, like for example being laid off. They both result in the same outcome, having to quit and get another job, but the circumstances differ immensely. The focus of this video is the latter, having change at work or in life in general brought upon you by someone else. Okay, so getting into the psychology behind your actions. There are basically 7 main emotions that you go through when reacting to change. This was researched by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and put together in the so-called Kubler-Ross change curve. The first reaction is shock, which is basically quite self-explanatory, but the first time you hear something, you react with an emotion which is basically being very overwhelmed. The second step is denial, which is when you go into state like, no, this is not gonna happen, this is not happening to me, we can solve this in another way, this doesn't affect me. The third emotion you go through is frustration or maybe a bit of anger. This is where you finally start realizing that this is going to happen and maybe even feel some resistance about the change, so like you really want to try to work against it. The fourth part is depression, so when you have a low mood, no energy, and you feel like this sucks, things are never going to be better. And then after the depression phase, where you basically have hit rock bottom, you start experimenting a bit, like, okay, what could this actually mean? What could I do? Could this be a good thing? Until you get to the decision phase, where you basically decide for yourself that, okay, this is happening and I'm going to do the best I can about it. And the last part of the change curve is integration. So that's basically when the change has become a new part of your daily life. This is what you go through every time change is brought upon you by someone else. Sometimes it goes really fast, like thoughts on a row in your head, and sometimes it takes a really long time. It could take months or even years. I'm going to give you an example of a really fast thought process on change. So if your specific other changes your plans for the night from going out with friends to staying in instead. So the first part, which is shock, you basically think like, what? Why? Why would we do that? And then the second step is denial, like, no, now you're just being silly. Of course we're going out with our friends. Which leads into frustration. Why do you always have to do this? Why do you always change our plans? To depression, so like, oh my god, now I don't feel like doing anything. Thank you for ruining my night. And then after coming down for a little while, you start experimenting, like, if we could stay at home, maybe I could eat my favorite ice cream. And then you get to the decision, okay, yeah, it's not that bad, let's stay home, but only if I'm getting ice cream. And then in the integration part, you now believe that, okay, this is what we're doing. This is obviously a very silly example and probably a bit over-exaggerated too, but it shows how the thought process works. There is no skipping steps, but what you can do is to try and get through it faster, and the faster you get to the experiment stage and get up from that rock bottom, the faster you can start improving the situation for yourself. And when you get there, you might even realize that the change has been for the better, even though it might have felt horrible in the beginning. Now when you know this, you know what you have ahead of you when dealing with change. Okay, so getting into some of the methods that you can use to feel better about the change and shift your mindset to faster be able to focus on the important things. The first part is to try to be engaged. And I know this sounds really hard, but stay with me here. Because when you've reached the depression part and start going into the more experiment part, what is driving your change curve upwards is engagement. So basically, the faster you can accept that the situation is what it is and start directing your energy towards making changes yourself and making the situation better for yourself, the better, instead of focusing all your energy on the negative aspects. There are 5 main ways that you can try to create engagement for yourself. So the first part of creating engagement that you can try is getting in control or trying to have the possibility to choose. So that is, what aspects of the change can you really try to impact? Say you're switching managers. Your old manager, whom you really liked, has decided to quit, and a new manager is coming in. You don't know this person, and in the beginning you kind of feel negative towards that person. But if you can shift your mindset and get engaged and getting in the driver's seat, you can try to help that person get going. You can start getting to know that person and talk to your new manager about what you thought worked really good with your old one, so that you two also can start working on those things. The next step is mastering. So basically, if there's some aspect of the change that you can get really good at, do that. Like for example, during COVID, people have been forced to stay and work at home. One thing that you could really master is getting good at digital meetings. Because if you get really good at digital meetings, you've nailed one skill that is needed with a change that makes you be ahead of others. The third part is really understanding why the change is happening. So if your company is shutting down, what would have happened if they had continued on with business as usual? Well, the outcome would probably have been the same, but maybe in the end you wouldn't have had your last salary because they wouldn't have any money left to pay you. So what I'm trying to say here is that you really need to understand why the change is happening, because maybe the way that you were doing it before wouldn't have been working in the long term. The fourth part is looking for results. So basically, the change has probably happened for a reason, and hopefully there are some positive results coming from this. But if you are a person who has a really negative mindset, you're not gonna see those. So when you start looking for those good results, that is both gonna help you shift your mindset and be helping you through the change. And the last part is social interaction. So talking and connecting with people. There is no better way to get through something than talking with other people. But one thing that you have to make sure here is not to be talking too much with the people who are really negative, because that is gonna lower you down too. But gather around the people who are really positive, or at least have a neutral mindset, and talk to them, talk about how it feels and what you should be doing to make this easier on you. The second big step regarding dealing with change is information. So the rule is, the more informed you are, the more confident you get and the faster you move along the change curve. So basically, for the first 2 steps of the change curve, shock and denial, you need to get information about why is this happening? Why don't you continue on with business as usual? So this is very similar to the get engaged step, but it's basically understanding why is the change happening and what is really happening. For the third and fourth part of the change curve, frustration and depression, you need to get an understanding of, what does the change mean to me? What do I gain and what do I lose? And how can I be prepared for both of those things? During confusion and acceptance, while getting more informed, you can start getting in the driver's seat here. And getting in the driver's seat is very, very good, because when you start developing a positive mindset, people are gonna flock around you because you're leading the way. You're both gonna lead yourself and others. And the people who are initiating the change are more likely to make you involved in the change because they're gonna involve people who are neutral to positive about the change. And if you're involved, you have the possibility to change things for yourself to the better. The change as a whole is happening, but you can still change the details about it if you're engaged. And then when you in the end get to the integration part, the change is a part of you and who you are. But something that I want to clarify here is that this doesn't mean that you have to live with the change. You can do something else, and that is important for you to do during these earlier steps. If someone is changing something that you don't agree on, you don't have to stay and be there. You always have options. You can always leave and do something else, and that is something that you have to decide for yourself. But the faster you get through the change curve and understand what this means and what you should be doing, instead of just ignoring everything that is happening around you, the faster you get into the driver's seat and can start change the situation for yourself, whether that be accepting the change that is happening or doing something completely different and leaving that behind you. As I said, there's no skipping corners, but you can make things better for yourself. Going faster through the change curve of shock, denial, frustration, depression, experimentation, decision, and integration is done by creating engagement through getting in control, mastering the things you can affect, understanding the purpose, looking for or creating results, and social interaction. And also through getting as informed as you possibly can. If you do this, you will move forward, and no matter how hard it may be, which I have full respect for, it can be really, really hard. Getting stuck in depression and frustration is not going to help you move forward. Only a mindset shift is by creating engagement and getting as informed as you possibly can. I hope you learned something new that will help you move forward and deal with the change you have at work. If you like this video, please go and check out my other videos. And remember to always try to stay positive and make sure to have a good day.